Namaste and welcome. Today we are going to know some lesser known facts about the Taj Mahal. In the city of Agra, in North India, on the banks of Yamuna, stands a beautiful, majestic building complex known as the Taj Mahal. It is by far the biggest tourist attraction in India and one of the most renowned in the world. It has been universally believed that the Taj Mahal originated as a Muslim tomb. The belief has been that the Taj Mahal owes its creation to the great attachment that the fifth generation Mughal ruler of India, Shah Jahan, bore to his wife Mumtaz. On her death, the disconsolate emperor is believed to have raised the massive monument for his beloved queen. And for centuries, we have been hearing this Shah Jahan Mumtaz legend of the Taj. The story in short goes like this. Mumtaz got married to Shah Jahan in 1612. During 18 years of their married life, she bore 14 children and died soon after her last delivery at Burhanpur in June 1631 AD. According to ASI, her body was given a temporary burial in the building situated inside the garden at Zainabad, opposite to Burhanpur, and her coffin was brought to Agra in January 1632. One wonders why he couldn't build a monument where his wife was first buried. 6 months later, why was the body exhumed to be taken to Agra? And even there, the body was again entered in a temporary grave for another 6 months. Thereafter, it was laid where it is supposed to lie now. However, Mumtaz was not Shah Jahan's only wife. He had several other wives and thousands of women in his harem. He was not only married before taking Mumtaz as his wife, but also married again soon after her death. He had physical relationship with his own daughter, which is recorded in the Mughal documents, and had many illicit relationships. It is therefore futile to argue that Shah Jahan was so devoted to Mumtaz as to lose all interest in life after her death, that he therefore perpetuated in her memory a magnificent monument. Centuries of misinformed publicity has resulted in focusing visitors' attention only on 2 cenotaphs inside the Taj Mahal, while the other remarkable features have been excluded. When we just view it as a tomb, we miss the significance of it, namely the expanse of its premises, the symbolism of its decoration, and the essential features of its architecture. When we visit any historic building, we should always keep 2 axioms in mind. First is, the building is conceived, designed, and constructed for a purpose which determines its constructional features. And second, every building naturally bears the paymaster's imprint. If we keep these 2 axioms in mind, it would be easy to explain why hospitals, residential houses, schools, palaces, temples, tombs, and mosques all look different, and why, for instance, even 2 residential houses may not look alike. Let us now look at the magnificent Taj Mahal. There is much more to see in the Taj than meets the eye. Let us first examine what Agra city looked like before Shah Jahan came to power in 1628. Agra had many grand mansions, palaces, and forts even before Shah Jahan came to Agra. Pelsart, a Dutch merchant who was in Agra from 1620 to 1627, says, "The breadth of the city is by no means so great as the length, because everyone had tried to be close to the river bank, and consequently the waterfront is occupied by the costly palaces of all the famous lords, which make it appear very gay and magnificent. It extends to a distance of 3.5 Holland miles, that is 10.5 English miles. Means when Shah Jahan came to Agra, it was a well established and well populated city which had many palaces and forts, and nobles and aristocrats stayed there and had their mansions. Beginning from the north, there is palace of Bahadur Khan. Next is the palace of Raja Bhoj. Then comes Ibrahim Khan, Rustam Kandhari, Raja Kishan, and so on. He gives a long list of the names of kings and noblemen who owned palaces there. After passing the fort, there is Nakhas, a great market. Beyond it lie the houses of great lords. He mentioned some more names, and at the end there are palaces of Raja Bet Singh, Raja Man Singh, and Raja Madhu Singh, which means that Raja Man Singh's palace already existed, which was later seized by Shah Jahan to bury Mumtaz. Pelsart's report was prepared in 1626, much before Mumtaz died, but this information was hidden and the historians never referred to this report. Located on the southern bank of Yamuna, a little distance from the Red Fort of Agra, stands Taj Mahal marble edifice on the marble platform, which is 328 feet by 328 feet, with 4 marble minarets and 5 domes, a rectangular courtyard with the main marble edifice at the northern end facing the south. The main marble edifice is flanked by 2 red stone buildings which are triple-domed structures. One is a mosque and the other known as the Jawab, which is a mirror image of the mosque known as the Pleasure Pavilion. Pleasure Pavilion in a mausoleum is surprising. The main gateway, that is the entrance, is facing the marble edifice at the southern side of the rectangular courtyard. Midway between the marble edifice and the gateway are 2 double-storied buildings known as the Nagar Khana. The marble edifice, the Taj Mahal, is a huge building having 7 stories, measuring the height of 243.5 feet from plinth to pinnacle. The entire building is of brick and mortar. The marble platform and the upper floors are plastered with 6-inch thick marble slabs. The inner walls of the edifice have calligraphical work. 14 chapters of Quran are inscribed on the Taj. The Taj Mahal is spread over in around 40 acres horizontally and 7 stories vertically, 3 stories in red stone and the remaining 4 in marble. The Taj Mahal has identical entrance arches on all 4 sides. This is typical Hindu style known as Chaturmukhi. This is spacious quadrangle outside the lofty entrance to the Taj garden, which is lined by shopping arcades. All Hindu temples have a bazaar around them. Are this kind of rooms necessary in a tomb, especially when there is no record evidence anywhere of Shah Jahan having ever visited the Taj after or at the time of Mumtaz's death? Then we come to the quadrangle just opposite the Taj. One can see the trident at the apex of the arches. The main gate has 11 domes on both sides. The trident, the cobras, the bells are all associated with the Hindu god Lord Shiva. On stepping into the garden, you may see to your left and right spacious red stone pavilions. If you look back at the gate, you will notice its temple decor, such as the lamp top poles on either side and cobra figures on top fringe. In the marble stone lining above each arch, one finds a flower bud. If we look closely, we can see a trident in the petals on the entrance gateway to the center edifice. We see a line of temple bells covering the entire width, the Ganesh and banana leaf toran as well. Standing in the center of the rectangular garden facing the Taj, at the far ends to your right and to your left, you may notice two double-storied drum houses known as Nakar Khanas. Had the Taj been built for dead Mumtaz, the drum houses have no purpose whatsoever. Music houses, on the contrary, are a necessity in the Hindu temple and a palace, since singing to the accompaniment of drums and bells is an integral part of Hindu way of worship. Now in the garden, interestingly, the trees and flowers planted are of Harshingar, Keuda, Jui, Ketki, Motia, Champa, Mauloshri, and to top it all, Bel. It is well known that Bel leaves are required for the worship of Shiva. After the drum house, near the so-called mosque, there is a 7-storied octagonal well with 8 rooms on each floor. Size of the rooms is 9 feet by 9 feet. It also has a flight of stairs reaching down to the water level. This is known as the Bauli Burj. This typical of wells are found in Hindu palaces and temples, are of no use in a mausoleum, and the timber door used for carbon dating in 1974 was later bricked up. A central dome with octagonal cupolas at its 4 corners is a common feature of Hindu temples. The 4 pillars in 4 corners are not Islamic minarets. These are 4 lampposts known as Deepastambhas. Similarly, altar setup is required for Satyanarayan worship and for Hindu weddings, where pillars are raised at the 4 corners. The octagonal shape of the Taj Mahal has a special Hindu significance because Hindus alone have special names for the 8 directions and the celestial guards assigned to them. The pinnacle points to the heaven, while the foundation signifies the nether world. The Taj Mahal has trident pinnacle over the dome. The central shaft of the trident depicts a kalash holding 2 bent mango leaves and a coconut. This is a sacred Hindu motif. People mistakenly believed for many centuries that the Taj pinnacle depicts an Islamic crescent and a star, a Chand and Tara. Taj Mahal has a reverberating dome. Such a dome is an absurdity for a tomb, whereas reverberating domes are a necessity in Hindu temples because they multiply and magnify the sound of bells, drums, and the sound of mantras. The Taj Mahal dome bears a lotus cap, and on every dome we can see the inverted lotus petals. Original Islamic domes have a bald top, as is exemplified by the Pakistan Embassy dome in Janakpuri, New Delhi. Here I would like to tell you that the word Kumbha is a Sanskrit word and Gumbaz is originated from this Kumbhaj. So the general belief that Gumbad is Islamic in origin is totally unfounded. On close observation, we can see that tridents are also depicted against the red lotus background at the apex of the marble arched entrance on all 4 sides of Taj Mahal. These are imposed patterns on the marble exterior of the central hall. The sculptor has tried to convey how the flowers can be given the shape of Om, conch shells, bells, etc. All these clearly depict traditional Hindu symbols associated with Lord Shiva's worship. Now we enter the center hall, having artificial tombs of Shah Jahan and Mumtaz. Around the cenotaph, there is a beautiful lattice. There is much to be seen in this lattice. Study the top border of the lattice carefully. The marble carvings, if minutely studied, reveal a small water pitcher with black lines and a constant flow of water from it falling on the small Shivlinga, known as Abhishek to Lord Shiva. There is perambulation, that is parikrama passage, around the spot occupied by Mumtaz's cenotaph, where originally the Shivling would have been placed. Now if you look up, you will find an iron chain hanging from the center of the dome. That chain does not serve any purpose over a cenotaph, but goes well with a Shivlinga for hanging the Abhishek Patra. Painted inside the concave ceiling of the central octagonal dome is the blazing sun, from whom the Hindu warrior race claims descent. The sun is the center, is surrounded by a circle of small tridents, Trishul of the very shape found on the forehead of Lord Ganesha, even today. The Taj Mahal has hundreds of iron rings sticking out of its exterior, is a feature rarely noticed. These are made to hold the oil lamps for temple illumination. It is surprising to know why Shah Jahan went against the tenets of Islam. Prophet Muhammad had ordained that burial spot of a Muslim should be inconspicuous and must not be marked by even a single tombstone. The Taj Mahal has one grave in the basement and another on the upper chamber, both ascribed to Mumtaz. It would be more logical to say that those two cenotaphs were in fact erected by Shah Jahan to bury the two-tier Shivalingas that were constructed in the Taj Mahal. It is customary for Hindus to install two Shivalingas, one over the other, in two stories, as may be seen in Mahakaleshwar temple in Ujjain and the Somnath temple raised by Ahilyabai. Even the basement cenotaph is a fake one because it is much above the river bank ground level. Now we climb down about 22 steps to reach the lower chamber containing the real graves. Even the marble basement room containing the so-called real graves is much higher than the garden level. How could Mumtaz be buried much above the garden level? Moreover, the Taj Mahal is octagonal. Its central hall is octagonal. The marble enclosure is octagonal. In such a setting, the oblong graves are misfit. Only a cylindrical Shivlinga or an idol can be proper central object. Here it is important to understand that a tomb is the grave, not the building. A widespread misunderstanding has resulted in mistaking the tomb to be a building. Therefore, hereafter, people must learn not to confuse the building with the grave mounds, which are drafted in conquered buildings. This is true of the Taj Mahal too. One may therefore admit, for argument's sake, that Mumtaz lies buried inside the Taj. But that shouldn't be construed to mean that the Taj was raised over Mumtaz's grave. Immediately below the marble plinth on the river bank, 22 rooms in red stone with their ventilators all walled up. Those rooms are kept locked by the archaeology department. Visitors are kept in the dark about them. On their inner side is a nearly 325 feet long and 8.5 feet broad corridor. There are two door frames, one at either end of the corridor. But those doorways are intriguingly sealed with crumbling bricks and lime. Visitors, if permitted to see the 6-story rooms, will be surprised to find out of 8 rooms to have absolutely no marble paneling. These have been stripped off the marble to obtain matching marble for raising fake cenotaphs inside the Taj premises. Now let us take a look at the mosque While the Taj Mahal arches are plastered with Quranic extracts, the so-called mosque has none. Moreover, do you find any minaret over it? How strange that the mosque ascribed to Shah Jahan has no minarets, but the tomb of his wife he raised 4 minarets. On entering the so-called mosque, we can see the sunflower carving on it. If we still believe that the architects were from Persia and other Saracenic countries, why is there nothing Islamic in it and sunflowers on it? A full-scale black marble replica of the pinnacle is inlaid in the red stone courtyard at the foot of the building. Here one may see very closely and clearly that it depicts a coconut, mango leaves, and a pitcher that is the exact copy of the pinnacle. If one goes straight out of the eastern gate, that is Jagdishpura gate, and turns left to walk along the wall, after proceeding about 50 yards, one comes to an opening to the left which leads into the ancient royal cow shed, the Gaushala. It is known as Gaushala till today and is even used as such. Obviously, Gaushala did a splendid service to the Shiv temple in supplying milk to the deity as well as to the devotees. Those putting implicit faith in Shah Jahan's authorship of the Taj have been imagining Shah Jahan Mumtaz to be soft-hearted, romantic pair like Romeo and Juliet. But contemporary accounts speak of Shah Jahan as a hard-hearted ruler who was constantly edged on Mumtaz by the acts of tyranny and cruelty. School and college history books carry the myth that Shah Jahan's reign was a golden one, in which there was peace and plenty. Shah Jahan commissioned many buildings and patronized literature in his reign. This is a pure fabrication. Shah Jahan did not commission even a single building, as illustrated by a detailed analysis of the Taj Mahal legend. Shah Jahan had engaged in 48 military campaigns during reign of nearly 30 years, which proves that his era was not at all an era of peace and plenty. The Taj Mahal is surrounded by huge ruined mansions, which indicate that great battles have been waged around the Taj several times. For all the time, money and energy that people all over the world spent in visiting the Taj Mahal, they have been repeatedly told a bunch of lies. Licensed professional guides at historic sites throughout India have till today been mechanically repeating parrot-like concocted version dictated to them by alien masters. India had many more buildings, more magnificent and more imposing than the Taj Mahal, but they all got destroyed and plundered during 1,000 years of barbarous invasions by aliens from Arabia to Afghanistan. Adding insult to injury, the few which survive, stripped and battered, continued to be blindly ascribed as mosques and tombs to the alien desecrators. The Taj Mahal is a glaring instance. Many more brave pens are needed to correct the record of other historic buildings throughout the Indian subcontinent. Honest pens are as rare as patriotic swords. It's the duty of all truth-loving people to set the record straight. Thank you.